If you have ADHD, you probably tried a million to-do list systems, apps, planners, sticky notes everywhere, but somehow they just don't work. Instead of helping, your to-do list becomes this overwhelming monster, or probably multiple to-do lists. They can become this overwhelming monster that you either ignore completely or obsess over, and probably still get not a lot done. That's because traditional to do lists are designed for neurotypical brains, not ADHD ones. But today, I'm going to show you how they fail us and how to create ADHD friendly systems that actually work. And before we get started, I do want to say this because our ADHD brains like novelty or really love novelty because of our low access to dopamine. We are people who will probably change systems from time to time, and I've kind of accepted that that's part of the thing. So I will use one type of system for a while and then often switch because it stops being as effective. I just want to also say that before we get into it so much. Like I said, traditional to do lists don't really work all that well for ADHD brains. And one piece of this is the overwhelm factor. ADHD brains see a long list and shut down instead of being able to start. We also tend to have problems with prioritizing. Everything feels equally important, so you end up doing the easiest or most urgent tasks first. Time blindness is also a factor because you underestimate how long things take, which leads to overstuffed lists and then guilt when you don't finish it. Also, when things are out of sight with ADHD, they are often out of mind. So if a task isn't visible, it basically doesn't exist in your brain. Further, a lot of us have perfectionism paralysis. And if this is you, you likely avoid tasks that feel big, unclear, or not the right time, like you're just not ready to start yet. So let's talk about some ADHD friendly alternatives to traditional to do lists. One is the 3 task rule because less is more. Instead of a giant, overwhelming list, pick 3 priority tasks per day. Your brain needs clarity, not clutter. And this keeps things doable. So you can ask yourself the question, what 3 things, if I finished today, would make me feel productive? And I'm going to share one way I do this. So I've got this little stand thing I got on Etsy. This one's cute. I was able to put my favorite saying on it, loka samasta sukino babantu, which, if you're wondering, means may all beings be happy and free. May the thoughts, words, and actions of our own lives contribute in some way to that happiness and that freedom. I used to say at the end of my yoga classes when I taught traditional yoga classes. So anyway, you put your top 3 on this, and then there's a little slot, and you put it there so it sits on your desk, and then you're aware of the top 3. I do have other tasks that often need to be done, but I keep those in my productivity app called AckyFlow and or keep them on my planner book. So I actually use a few systems to be able to keep track of everything. This I only use on a day when I really want to sort through tasks, like when I have more time to do stuff than just the top 3. I will use this with AckyFlow as a way to really sort through my to-do list without getting overwhelmed. Okay, so number 2, the next action method. So ADHD brains resist vague tasks. So instead of writing something like work on project, do YouTube videos, improve YouTube watch times, or something like that, it's important that you write the next tiny action steps if you're having a hard time getting started. And depending on how much you struggle with this, your next action step may be much smaller or it could be a little bigger. Like it could be as detailed as open Google Docs, write 1 sentence, email Lisa for project details. The easier the step, especially that first one, the easier it is to start. And I shared in another video recently, there's a really good app called Goblin.tools. It uses AI. And one of the things it's really good at is identifying when you put in, like, I need to work on this project and it's improving my YouTube or whatever. When you put that in there, then you indicate how many chili peppers you are in terms of neurospiciness, like how neurodivergent you are. And then based on how spicy you are, you get either more details or less details on the list. So that's a nice tool to use. I'm sure you could also ask like ChatGPT, Gemini, or some other AI. All right, number 3, visual to-do lists, because ADHD brains need to see their tasks. So use whiteboards, sticky notes, or digital tools that are visually engaging. You could try a Kanban style system where you have tasks. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's one common, that's the to do. Then you have an in progress, and then you have a done. And you can even do that a little more spread out. But apps like Trello, I believe Asana, which I know people call it Asana, but as a yoga teacher, the word in Sanskrit is actually asana, so I just can't do it. But anyway, apps like Trello, Asana, ClickUp, or Notion work really well for ADHD minds. Number 4, the dopamine list. Make tasks feel rewarding. You compare tasks with a fun element to trigger motivation. This is one I do a lot. So listen to music or a podcast while you're doing boring tasks. So I will always have on some kind of music. I tend to listen to one of my favorite bands, Cloud Cult, on Spotify. Sometimes I'll listen to Hertz music, Hertz. Based on the energy I'm trying to create, I'll select that frequency, which you can find on YouTube. So you can find music or find a podcast to listen to while you're doing boring tasks. The podcast I would only do, like, that's good for things like folding laundry or, I don't know, organizing files or uploading files, but I wouldn't do a podcast if you have to write something yourself or you're recording videos. Obviously, you can't, but just really be intentional about what would make this fun that would work with the task. Another way to make it fun could be to set a timer and race yourself to the finish, like see how fast you can get something done. Or you can reward yourself after completing a hard task, like with a break or a coffee. This probably isn't the best one, but I remember when I was an actuary. I never was a full-fledged actuary. I didn't pass all my exams, so I was never a fellow of the Society of Actuaries. So I should say I was an actuarial student or an actuarial analyst. But when I was taking my actuarial exams, I would make myself get through so many pages before I'd let myself go up and go to the bathroom. Probably not great for my kidneys or my body, but I'm telling you, it made me focus, which is interesting because you'd think when you have to go to the bathroom, it'd be harder to focus, but somehow that worked for me. So even little rewards, maybe not the bathroom one, that's probably hard on your body. Okay, number 5, the energy-based to-do list. ADHD energy fluctuates throughout the day. So if you've ever noticed, there's certain times when you are more productive with certain kind of tasks. So then plan tasks based on your brain's energy levels. So high energy tasks are things like deep work or creative tasks. This is done when you're most alert. So for me, when I am going to record my podcast or I record these videos or I do any kind of writing of emails, I try to do it first thing in the morning. Well, not first thing in the morning, first thing in my workday. So it's 10 a.m. after I've done my morning self-love ritual. So I had some exercise, some morning writing to brain dump, some meditation and other things. So I'm at my highest level of energy because I've also just eaten so that I can then be super present for those kind of things. Low energy tasks can be done when you feel more sluggish. So this could be answering emails or admin work. But just make sure, though, that you are making those tasks interesting by either, like we said, playing some music or listening to a podcast, because otherwise it's going to be hard to do them, especially if you're feeling sluggish. And if you're feeling sluggish, sometimes going for a walk around the block or doing something to regulate your nervous system can really help you then be able to start those tasks. So it's really important to experiment with this because if you keep forcing yourself to be productive at the wrong times, you're going to be less efficient and it's going to take longer for you to get stuff done. And then you're going to feel shame. And that's just not useful for anybody. So if you've been beating yourself up for not sticking to a traditional to-do list, I want you to know it's not your fault. It's just that these were not built for your ADHD brain. So let's quickly recap some ADHD-friendly strategies that we talked about in this video. The 3-task rule. So you're going to write your top 3 tasks. You can do the next action method. Identify the next small step that you need to take to get going. Visual to-do lists like Kanban boards is a great one, or using a whiteboard. I do this because my whiteboard is over here. Dopamine list. So this is making things fun and interesting. And then energy-based planning so that you are following your energy and linking up your high energy times with tasks that require more high energy, and then the low energy tasks that don't need that much energy. So I'm curious, which one are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. And if this helps, go ahead and hit like as well as that subscribe button. And even better, also hit the little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you get notifications so you don't miss a single video on ADHD-friendly tips, tricks, strategies, and insights to help you with your business and in life. I'll see you next time. Take care.